Hello, everybody. This is the Pocket Passer. I'm your host, Randy White. I hope all of you are having a fantastic day. I know I am. It's been a long time since I've sat in front of you, in front of this camera, recording something in this room. And you know what? I was playing Wordle. I was about on my fourth guess. I had my first two letters locked in. I just had to stop myself and say, what am I doing? I need to record a Pocket Passer episode because I haven't done this in so long, and there's some actual news going on in the NFL right now, and people need to hear my take on it, obviously. So here I am shooting the first Pocket Passer podcast, if you want to call it that, since probably right after the Super Bowl when I came down in my ridiculous fedora. Now I've got my Hawaiian shirt, I have my sunglasses, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to give you guys my take on the Deandre Hopkins signing, the running back franchise tag situation with Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, and Josh Jacobs, my reaction to Derrick Henry's tweet about the unfortunate scenario with running backs, and a little fun fact about running backs' average salaries right now to give you an idea of where running backs are at in the NFL and how NFL front offices are viewing them. So let's get right into it. The Tennessee Titans signed Deandre Hopkins to a 2-year, $26 million contract, which to me is very interesting considering the fact that they just had A.J. Brown and decided to trade him away to draft Treylon Burks, who's essentially a worse version who thinks it's okay to forward lateral passes in the middle of games because he's about to get tackled.
Dobbs' pass is caught, and this ball is lateraled, I guess.
The tricky thing with Deandre Hopkins is I'm sure he still has some of the best hands in the league. His hands were fantastic last time he was played. He's been incredible in terms of being able to catch the ball in traffic. I mean, as far as the Hail Murray to in Tennessee where he went like 2 or 3 straight years without a drop or maybe a drop. I mean, the dude is next level with his catching ability, but I'd be shocked if he hadn't lost a step by now. So that's going to be something to talk about for sure. And there's definitely some concern there, especially considering the fact that he's much, much older than A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is better right now, and they refuse to pay him money for a long-term deal. He's going to have Ryan Tannehill, Malik Willis, or Will Levis at quarterback. So not a really encouraging situation there. Hopefully him and Derrick Henry can kind of provide that outside-inside threat that's necessary to have a not elite quarterback thrive. If they can get back to what they're able to do in 2018 when the Titans made the AFC Championship and lost to Mahomes and the Chiefs, when they would go on to win the Super Bowl against the San Francisco 49ers, if they can kind of recreate that energy, they can be good. They've got a good defense. They've got a fantastic coach in Mike Vrabel. So they have some pieces in place. I don't trust the quarterback situation to get them where they need to go, which is ultimately, of course, for any team, a Super Bowl. I just don't see that happening, so I don't really get the point of this. I thought DeAndre Hopkins made a poor decision if he really wants to win a championship. I'd rather have seen him go to the Bills or the Chiefs to really compete for a championship. I mean, those are both teams with elite quarterbacks, so that would have made a lot more sense to me. Now, another signing that isn't running backs, I'll get into running backs in a second. That's going to be the biggest chunk of this video. The Jets signed Quinnen Williams to a 4-year, $96 million deal. He had the Jets out of his bio on Twitter, all that fun drama, and it kind of looked like they were riffing a little bit, but clearly the bond has been reignited as the Jets have a great young defensive core. I mean, just fantastic. And you get the veteran leadership of Rodgers on the offensive side to go along with Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, who were both Offensive Rookie of the Year candidates last year. Obviously, Garrett Wilson won it. Breece Hall was, in my opinion, the front runner for Offensive Rookie of the Year until he went down with that ACL injury. And with modern ACL repair, I'm assuming he probably won't have lost much of anything for his step. I expect him to be fantastic again next year. So, I mean, the Jets are looking good, and I'll get into record predictions and where I think standings are going to go on another day. I have to really take a deep dive into schedules and just look at every layer of the rosters and see how I like depth and coaching. Obviously, the Jets is a team that I do like a lot, but in terms of actually having a solid opinion, that's something I have to look deeper into, as I have been very, very lazy in terms of content creation the last month and a half, pretty much the entire offseason. Ups and downs. I got active during the draft, but other than that, So we're going to get right back into it. We're going to push the pedal to the metal. It's time to go, for sure. So now, franchise tag situation with running backs. Le'Veon Bell came out the other day and talked about how he apologized to Steelers fans and how should not have left, which I was saying that at the time, back in 2019, when he sat out that entire year because he didn't want to play under the franchise tag after they lost to the Jaguars in the playoff game. And I could have told you then it was a big mistake, but even more so now, because we did understand running backs' careers were short, but they almost feel like they're getting shorter now. There's very few guys that are showing longevity because right now teams are getting a great running back and they're just running them into the ground. And the contact is so extreme and the training is so extreme to be able to get that level of talent that guys like Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs have, where they're putting up these high production numbers, but it's just not sustainable long term. So you're getting these guys that are saying, hey, I want a long-term deal, and the teams are looking at them and saying, the likelihood is you're not going to be providing production at the level we're paying for by the end of your contract. If we give you a 4-year contract and it's your second contract, and in Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs' case, both first-round picks, both 4-year contracts because they're first-round picks, so they're already 4 years into their career. They've already been taking heavy contact for 4 years, as running backs are one of the most versatile positions in football, if not the most versatile position in football. So they're having to catch the ball. They're getting hit by linebackers, defensive linemen, DBs. Everyone is getting a chance to tee off on these guys. They're running the ball in between the tackles, outside, whatever, you name it, a running back has to do it. They got to block. They have to do everything. So when you have a position that is that versatile and is used for that much, the wear and tear is obviously extreme, and we're seeing guys frequently. Ezekiel Elliott is a prime example of this, who just, they signed that big second contract and the production just falls off a massive cliff and it's no longer worth it. So these teams, the Giants, the Cowboys again, and the Raiders don't want to run into the same problem with Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs. They don't want to see that happen again, so they're going franchise tag route. And honestly, despite Derrick Henry's tweet, which said, or Derrick Henry, essentially, I'm paraphrasing here because I don't have it in front of me, but he essentially said that they should get rid of the position of running back, and I think he was just making a point, obviously, which was that if you're not going to pay us what we're worth, then like this isn't fair and this isn't right, and he's saying he's standing with those guys, he's standing with his position group, and what Derrick Henry's saying makes sense, and I feel him, I understand what he's saying, but these owners are in a tough spot, these general managers are in a tough spot where they're looking at these players that want these long-term deals, and they're saying, hey, you're not going to be giving me the production that is worth the money I'm paying you by the end of your contract, most likely. I respect these guys trying to get their bag while they can, but the reality is it's just not worth it for teams. I mean, if you look at the last several Super Bowl winners, we can go way back for Super Bowl winners. The most expensive running back to be a part of a Super Bowl winning team was Leonard Fournette, and he was not making a large sum of money. I don't know what it was, like $2 million a year, I want to say. Most of these guys are making like around the $1 million range. Like it's a small sum. Some of them even in the high 100,000s, like 700K, 800K. For a lot of these Super Bowl winning teams, they're not paying their running backs. That money's going to their quarterbacks, and oftentimes even their quarterbacks are on rookie deals. You look at Russell Wilson in Seattle, Jared Goff with the Rams when they went to the Super Bowl, and those are mostly Super Bowl losing teams. Tom Brady took pay cuts. A lot of these guys, Aaron Rodgers was early in his career when he won his Super Bowl back in 2010. A lot of these guys, they weren't on their big deals. They just weren't, and it's not sustainable to have these guys drawing in big numbers of cash, especially at the running back position, because that money has to be spent at receiver, D-line, quarterback, offensive line. You got to protect your passer, you got to get a good passer, and you got to be able to get the opponent's pass rusher and be able to get the opponent's passer. Those are pretty much the three key pillars to success in the NFL, and then after that you got receiver, you got guys that have to cover at corner. Running back is probably 6th on the list of priorities for high quality players, because you can draft guys and get them on rookie deals, and they're going to be fresh out of college, so they're going to have much fresher legs as long as they didn't have an injury history in college, and it's going to be much more sustainable for a team trying to win. So that's what we're seeing right now. NFL teams are waking up to that, and they're saying, hey, I'm not going to give you guys a bunch of money if the value's not going to be there in 1-2 seasons. And that's really what the lifetime is for these running backs. It's about 5-6 years and they fizzle out. The fuse dies, and you're just not getting the same productivity, and all of a sudden you gave them an $18 million contract, and they're just not producing at an $18 million level, and all of a sudden it goes down to more like $5 million production, and the NFL teams are going, what the hell did I just get myself into? So that's the issue that they're running into, and that's why this is happening. So I understand why guys like Derrick Henry and obviously Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, and Josh Jacobs, who haven't signed their contracts, who didn't come to a deal, is obviously because they're upset with it too, and they're trying to get their bag. I respect it. It's just not feasible with the way that position is trending. So it's unfortunate, but that's just the way it looks like it has to be. And an NFL running back's average salary in 2023, $1.81 million. Kickers, $2.26 million. So right now, kickers are being paid more money because kickers are showing long-term productivity. They're making field goals to win games. And right now, NFL teams are clearly viewing kickers as a more viable asset to put money into than running backs, especially long-term. So that's the situation we're in right now with those offensive positions. Those are all the topics I had to cover for you guys today. I appreciate all of you for listening to my running back rant. If you liked the content, make sure to leave a like. Go check me out on Instagram and TikTok. And if you're watching this on Instagram or TikTok, go ahead and check me out on YouTube. I'm going to be posting a lot more now. I finally got my motivation and my inspiration to bring you guys all my best possible quality content I can produce. I appreciate all of you for watching, and I will see all of you in the next video.